So, got a little bit of dragon heist going on this time around. I opted to do the train drop off. I guess it's a train, tram, whatever, for the drill, just because it was faster. And honestly, I hate waiting for these objectives. Like one of the biggest problems I have whenever I'm doing runs is just my level of patience is usually very thin. So this first area I have, you'll notice I have shaped charges, and my HUD doesn't properly reflect the actual number of trip mines that I have because I have them maxed out at like fire trap and everything included. So I have 14 trip mines with fire trap, and I'll show the build at the end of the video, of course. MUI has never properly shown 14 charges and C4 bits, whatever, for me. I've never known why. It's probably one of my very, very few gripes about it, but it's not a big deal. They're actually something I made quite liberal use of through the Heist, using them to cover different objectives and things like that. You'll see me. Well, of course, obviously to blow open doors, and then for guarding timed objectives like the hack, or power boxes, and things like that. They came really in handy, especially towards the tail end of the heist, but I'll get into that as we get closer to that. Originally, I was trying to run this heist with the Tempest AR like I am, and the SAW as a secondary. It actually went pretty well for the most part. I didn't struggle too much, but in the couple runs I had, I just really couldn't clutch it out. I don't know. It's weird. The Tempest by itself is really strong as an AR, especially with body expertise, but as you can see, I've paired it with the 5.7 just to have a decent secondary instead of the SAW, of course, being able to shoot through shields and whatnot. I don't have shock and awe aced or anything like that. Went ahead and moved towards the door as I saw that the timer was pretty low. When I tried to get in the forklift as fast as possible after clearing the enemies that filter out of this little area through here. Go ahead and grab the keys. I had a really bad habit, or not bad habit, but I had like really bad luck with accidentally getting on the back of the forklift. It happened so many times. It's so frustrating. Went ahead and popped a pocket ECM here so that I could stun any of the enemies that were spawning into that back room. Hopefully they would stay stunned long enough for me to make it over here. Go ahead and pop another one just so I can make sure that guy doesn't tap me really quickly. Of course, going ahead and starting this hack as early as I can just to have it running. One of the things I encountered while I was doing attempts of this heist, I wasn't very familiar with how the objectives went. So I'd have a run where I was like in the vault room or whatever, or not in the vault room, but I was like in the warehouse, and I'd have the drill laid down, and then gas came out, and I was like, wait, there's gas? I have to worry about what? So that was, you know, kind of a surprise, and then I get a run past that, and then I realize I have to have the blowtorch on the inside, and I'm like, right, I have to get the blowtorch, and that's in the one room, and I have to hack the thing, and because I wasn't doing this hack prior to that, so there's a lot of trial and error with some of these heists. I should probably make a habit with heists that I'm not as familiar with to run through them a few times on like Mayhem and Death Wish and things like that, just to get a really comfortable feel for, you know, spawns, both of enemies and for objectives and things like that, getting a feel for the RNG before I really decide to tackle it in on one down, because a lot of times I'll, you know, put a lot of attempts in just to experiment, just to get my feet wet with the heist. You know, I've done a lot of these in stealth, but a lot of them, well, this one in particular, I've not done too much in loud, just a couple times maybe. Just kind of passively, I'm sorry, on overkill with my friends or something, like completely zoned out, not even paying attention to what's going on. So, but it wasn't super hard. It got a little weird, a little sus in a couple times, and I'm not saying that I didn't struggle with this at all. I've dumped over a dozen attempts into this today, probably. Well over a dozen, had to have. But it's not been, like, impossibly hard. It felt doable. Every attempt felt doable until something just inevitably went wrong. However, I really was not a fan of waiting on the drill to drop from the regular drop, so I just said, you know, forget it, I'm not going to put the no assets in my title. I don't need it. My patience can't handle it. It doesn't matter that much anyway. At least not to me. But I was able to do this one without any, you know, first aid kits, any converts, things like that. Which I felt like my weapon combo was pretty good. I didn't really use the 5.7 all that much, though, ultimately. Unfortunately, that trip mine will bite me later. The trip mines are great for things like this, for protecting them from being broken, but the drills, not so much, just because they can prevent you from actually fixing them, which you'll see that here in a little while. Might not be for a few minutes, but I was really glad with the pace that I was able to be on in terms of just getting the drills set up and having the hack finished and all that. And, you know, less than 6 minutes, and I really had all that basically finished, and it was just at that point waiting on the drill and pushing the last bit of objectives. Shape charges coming in clutch here on this heist for sure, just saving so much time with lockpicking and things like that. Which maybe at the point I was at in the assault I could have picked it without too much difficulty, but I still just prefer laying a shape charge or having a saw and just blowing through the door. One thing I recently noticed with Hacker that I wasn't doing, and that I also kind of had someone point out to me, was that I don't play very aggressive with Hacker. I tend to play very passive. And it was hurting me a lot. I wasn't getting as much mileage out of it as you possibly could, just because I wasn't... You know, if I saw a big group of enemies, I would prefer to, like, sit behind in the corner and just kind of whittle at them instead of popping a pocket ECM like this and then just going to town. And honestly, it just never really dawned on me that Hacker allowed for that kind of super aggressive play. As I'm trying to, like, learn and, you know, figure out all this stuff that's still pretty unfamiliar to me. For the most part, it's been interesting. It's been an interesting challenge as opposed to just slapping on Rogue or something and going to town, for example. Don't really have to worry too much with that, just hope you get good dodge rolls or something. I was really satisfied with the Tempest with body expertise. It's really nice. I'm becoming a much bigger... I kind of used to be a body expertise hater forever and ever ago, but the more I've used it, the more I'm like, frick, this is so nice. Like, I just don't even have to... Like, yeah, you can aim, but if there's just a blob of enemies in front of you, you don't have to worry about trying to hit the guys that are crouching, or if somebody, like, ducks and rolls or whatever, you just hold the trigger and they'll just die. It's great. I tried a few different weapon loadouts for this. I think I'd already talked about the one with the saw, and then I've tried a sniper build with this one, but I really wasn't having the... Especially outside, the areas just were too open for me to really get good use out of the snipers, which I was using the rattlesnake, so I didn't really have much... And I'm sorry, not the rattlesnake, I was using the desert fox. So, you know, you got 5 shots in the magazine before you have to reload, and it's good damage. I definitely like using the desert fox, and I hope to have a run with it in the future. I'm messing around with some builds with it for sure, especially with Kingpin. Just having a high damage sniper that you don't have to boost with Berserk or anything like that. The Contractor with Berserk is an excellent combo, as it's been pointed out to me, and I love it. But I don't run Anarchist as much anymore just because it doesn't really allow me to play, like, you can play aggressive, that's not what I'm saying. But it doesn't let you push objectives in the same way that Hacker does, which is kind of what something I really like about it. And also, I'm really not a big fan of just poking my head from around a corner and a sniper having already pre-aimed on me and then just, you know, doming me instantly. but that's neither here nor there. This was where the fire trap kind of bit me. I was like, oh man, I can't fix the drill. I had weighed the pros and cons in this particular build of actually picking up, shoot, what's the skill called? I can't remember. The skill where you could smack the drill with your melee and there's like 50% chance that it'll restart or whatever. I considered picking that just so I could have the possibility of restarting the drill while the gas was going on, but I decided against it. Really not sure why I decided to retreat all the way in here. This was like my, this spot was my safe zone. I don't know, I just felt super comfortable here, and anytime I started to get panicky, I just ran to this room. Even up to the very end when I'm waiting on the escape, I went all the way downstairs and just hid here just because I felt safest. I hid a lot in the upstairs portion. In prior runs, I hid a lot behind the computer at the, I guess at the cashier's desk, you want to call it? Whatever. I thought I was dead here, but thankfully I was not. It all worked out. This is where Fire Trap really became the MVP. Just going ahead and killing these guys while they were stunned by the pocket ECMs still. It's another kind of hidden bonus to the perk deck. The fact that it allows you to, I don't know, the enemies still stay stunned a little bit even after your cooldown wears off. So it was right. This wasn't really like my intention with Fire Trap, but it was kind of like a nice little bonus. I realized that I'd be able to choke this door and push this objective and then push the rest of the vault while I was inside. And that really wasn't like the initial idea. The initial idea was just to kind of cover the hack and some other things, some other objectives while they were finishing, you know, power boxes and things of that nature. But then when I realized that this was working, I was like, oh, well, this is awesome. I'm going to do this on other heists now. Of course, it's a pretty hefty point investment, but this particular build, I mean, if you're not packing any other deployable except the shape charges anyway, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. I think it's kind of an underrated skill, personally. Fire Trap is, I don't know, it's just very powerful, it seems like. Or at least in this particular map, it seemed really powerful. Just go ahead and grab me some ammo here just so I can sit a bit more comfortably. The Tempest was fairly ammo efficient. But there definitely were times where I started to act a little foolish with my shots and I wasn't placing them as well as I like to. Body expertise, if nothing else, makes me a little bit lazy. Because I don't try to be very efficient with headshots still. I just kind of use the crutch of being able to shoot them in the body. Thankfully, I also had the assault wave end right as I was doing this part here. I wasn't 100% sure if I needed to grab all the C4 to actually place it on the wall, so I went ahead and just got this one for good measure. I'm pretty sure I do have to. Again, I wasn't super familiar with the objectives for the loud version of this heist, so I just decided to play it safe as opposed to sorry and just grab all the C4 anyway. Of course, Fire Trap does also kind of trap me in here. I didn't want it to break my armor and then I step outside and then just get one-tapped by a heavy unit. Thankfully, the interaction for placing these C4 bricks, that wasn't very long. I didn't even really have to pop that pocket ECM, but I did just to kind of play it on the safe side. It looks like that taser, or whatever it was, initially had just ran past those initial crates. Just playing it kind of chill and safe for now until I get off my cooldowns here. And as soon as I say that, I just bolt. See, this is what I'm talking about. I thought for sure I was going to hunker down in that spot because I would have been relatively safe, but no. As soon as I thought the coast was clear, I bolted to my little hidey hole in my my little safe spot. I don't know, man. I make questionable choices sometimes. Most of the time, honestly. But it ended up working out. I managed to get back here. Had enough dodge with the post-pocket ECM kills on Hacker that I was able to get back to my spot and also get back to here. Making sure the coast is more or less clear so that I can go ahead and place the last C4 charge. I also wasn't sure if it would kill me, so made sure I kind of gave it some space just in case. I'm pretty sure it does, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, I was playing with some friends the other night and it blew up on me. Like, I stood next to the wall to try to test it out. I do remember that. But for some reason I can't remember things like there being gas or having to hack the one thing. It's probably because my friends did those objectives while I just wasn't paying attention, if I had to guess. Plenty of people here to kill with Hacker. At one point I was just like, you know what, forget about it, I'm just running. Because of the number of enemies that were in the warehouse room, I decided it was going to be more worth my time to run out here and hit the street. I'm actually very lucky that that guy decided to run out of the room, because had he not, he probably would have either two-tapped me. Well, he couldn't have two-tapped me, I don't think, but it would have got dangerously close. I contemplated going that way to hit the street. Snipers versus Hacker. It's a hopeless battle. Like with Anarchist, I'm deathly afraid of snipers. But with Hacker, I'm just like, whatever. I can't do anything. And this is me running back down to the hidey hole. I was scared to death. Also to pick up all this ammo, because I was getting just a little low. Getting a little low. And then I remembered I had another weapon. I was like, oh right, yeah, I could use this if I absolutely had to. Definitely wanted to stock up on ammo just a little bit. I didn't want to get caught going to the escape with absolutely no ammo and then have to kill a bunch of enemies that were body blocking me, for example. As simple as it sounds, one thing that I've really tried to change recently that I didn't really used to do was, as soon as my armor breaks, I try to throw myself into cover and just hide. Seems like previously I'd have a bad habit of just trying to push through my armor being broken. And I would, you know, try to get a headshot to kind of proc bullseye to compensate, but here recently I've tried to not do that, unless I'm sprinting and I'm running through a crowd of people and my armor gets broken, in which case I just try to get a shot on somebody in the head so I can proc bullseye and keep running. And just hope, particularly with Hacker, of course, I can hope that dodge just kind of saves me in my bad play. I don't know why I didn't wait for my armor to regen before I jumped through the window, but went ahead and did that. Went ahead and tried to get these guys killed. And this right here probably could have went absolutely terribly, but thankfully it didn't. I was able to make it all the way into the escape and not die, which was awesome. So, kind of a sloppy run, all things considered. I just kind of ran around, shot things, and got lucky a bunch, so... Nothing outside of the usual, I guess. And I'll go ahead and I'll show the build real quick. For the most part, nothing special, except for Fire Trap. That was kind of unique, so we'll go through that really quickly. And also some ammo reload skills, so aggressive reload here. This is some pretty regular stuff. And Enforcer. Technician was kind of interesting, and then some pretty basic ghost skills, and then go through the weapon mods really quickly for my weapons here. Again, I kind of liked the Tempest. I might use it again in the future. It's kind of fun. Not as ammo efficient as it possibly could be if it's like your main weapon. You don't have a secondary that you can kind of switch to. But that was more my fault for completely neglecting that I had that. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I thank you guys so much for watching. See you around.